Namaskar. Greetings to all the learners. Welcome to the CEC lecture. The topic that we shall understand is a very important one, that is non-aligned movement and the global order. Dear learners, as we take the learning forward in this lecture, we shall first try to understand the history, the evolution of NAM. We shall be having a discussion on principles, objectives, summits of NAM, and then most important, looking into the importance of NAM in the contemporary times. And for that, we shall be having a look at some of the contemporary events in global affairs. When we try to understand NAM, it's very essential that we shall be situating the perspective, the idea of NAM, first of all, within the context, namely the Cold War. We shall try to understand NAM with respect to the alliances and how these alliances were linked to the idea of preservation and protection of sovereignty and independence. Then an analysis of the Bandung principles, and then where do we situate NAM in the contemporary times when the world over there is a debate on reform for the process of globalization. The non-aligned movement. When we try to understand it, the history, the remarks from various history, the works from various realms of history tell us that it is an international forum of 120 developing countries. The belief was that that was inherent with the idea of non-alignment was that with major power blocks, the kind of world politics that was the world witnessed immediately after the end of the Second World War with the rise of the Cold War, NAM was established, if we go by the timeline of history, in 1961 at Belgrade. It's very essential to look at the world leaders that came together to put forward the narrative of NAM. Former Yugoslavia leader, and that is under the leadership of the then Prime Minister, the President of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, the President of Yugoslavia, Josip Broz Tito. So all of it tells us that how after the end of the Second World War, there was a phase of decolonization. Because of that, the world witnessed freedom struggles and in gaining of independence by many African Asian countries after the Second World War. Many countries in the developing world in Asia and Africa at that time becoming newly independent felt the need for a strong movement towards securing peace and prosperity and establishing security for all countries. Now, when we see that Cold War, the ideological war that the world witnessed, at that time the world was divided into two power blocks, the United States of America and the Soviet Union. And at that time, with the signing of the NATO and the Warsaw Pact, the world was drawn towards a phase where it was drawn into alliances. And somewhere there was a feeling amongst the newly independent Afro-Asian countries that alliances could be a threat to their newly gained independence. There was a need for mutual cooperation and coordination, but yet not being formally aligned or against any of the power blocks. So, with the coordination amongst the global south, what one finds here is that as the world affairs proceed, the term Third World, both in theory as well as practice, arose during the Cold War era. So NAM, when we try to understand it, it does not have a permanent secretariat or a formal hierarchy. Its administration is rotational and non-hierarchical. NAM takes decisions by consensus. NAM does not have, as we pointed out, a permanent secretariat or formal hierarchy. Now, in this process, it is also very essential to see that, NAM, coming up at the same time wherein the world after the Second World War, with the context of Cold War, wanted to be away from the power alliances. The NAM has a coordinating bureau which is based at the United Nations in New York City. Then when we look at the functioning of NAM, the meetings, the regularity of its meetings play an important role. NAM meets every 3 years at the end of NAM Summit of Conference of the Heads of the State. At the summit, a chair is chosen, which is a post held for 3 years. Every member country has equal weight. When we look at the fact that, in the present time, the current chairperson of NAM is Ilham Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan. He holds the post till 2020, and these are facts from the UN sources. It can be verified too. So, dear learners, when we look at NAM member countries, in the present scenario, there are currently 120 members countries in the NAM. India is one of the founding members of non-aligned movement. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, Afghanistan are also members. China has an observer status. All African countries except Western Sahara and South Sudan are also members of NAM. There are many organizations and countries that have been given observer status. Some of the organizations that have observer status: the United Nations, African Union, Arab League, Commonwealth Secretariat. Let's look once again towards a historical perspective. Dear learners, we all know that how during the phase of late 1950s, or what we can say is 1960, in the light of the results that were achieved in Bandung, the creation of movement of non-aligned countries was given a decisive boost during the 15th ordinary session of the United Nations General Assembly, during which also 17 new African and Asian countries were admitted. At that time, once again, if we recall by lanes of history, the key role of the leaders then, that is the heads of the state of Egypt, India, Yugoslavia, Indonesia, played an important role. 6 years after the Bandung, the movement of non-aligned countries was founded on a wider geographical basis at the first summit conference that was at Belgrade from September 1st to 6th, 1961. What we find here is that this conference was attended by 25 countries, and when we look at the names like Afghanistan, Algeria, Yemen, Myanmar, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Congo, Cuba, Cyprus, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Guyana, India, Indonesia, Iraq, Lebanon, Mali, Nepal, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, Yugoslavia. So what you see here is that this tells us about the diversity from an Egypt in Africa to Saudi Arabia from the Asian perspective to India to Sri Lanka. So this tells us that the wide ambit the NAM covered right in its very first meeting. The Bandung Asian African Conference is very important for analysis from April 18 to 24, 1955. 29 heads of the state belonging to the first post-colonial generation of leaders. The 10 principles of Bandung were proclaimed at that conference. They were later adopted as the main goals and objectives of the policy of non-alignment. So dear learners, it's very essential to put a question here. Why is it that NAM is codified as a movement and not as an organization? Because founders of NAM, if we are to answer it, they have preferred to declare it as a movement, not as an organization, in order to avoid bureaucratic implications. The primary objectives of the non-aligned countries focused on, and let's read that out, and once again we are quoting from authentic government's primary resources to back up our research. Support of self-determination, national independence and sovereignty and territorial integrity of states, opposition to apartheid, non-adherence to multilateral military pacts, struggle against imperialism, colonialism, neocolonialism, racism, foreign occupation, domination, disarmament, non-interference into the internal affairs of the state, peaceful coexistence amongst all nations, rejection of the use or threat of use of force in international relations. One of the very important principles and objectives of NAM has been strengthening of the United Nations, democratization of international relations, socio-economic development, restructuring of the international economic system. Now, as we are discussing more on NAM's principles and objectives, the restructuring of the international economic relations is indeed significant. Let's bring the attention towards Algiers Conference in 1973, and that somewhere gave forward the idea of new international economic order. There was a need for fundamental change that was realized in the international economic realities and relations. There was a need for economic emancipation of the countries of the South. So what you see here is that with NAM, a definite identity, a collective solidarity was presented to the newly independent Afro-Asian countries. The challenge, when we look at the wide 120 member nation states, the different trajectories, power resources, geography, geopolitical stakes, power interests, when we look at the future challenge for the working of the non-aligned movement, is the ability to overcome these differences and find a common ground for action that leads to mutual cooperation and upholding of their shared values. What is essential to be remarked here is that after the Second World War, during the Cold War, the idea of common ground was easy to locate. But now, with the end of the Cold War, with the world becoming loosely polar, multipolarity, with the end of bipolarity, the need for working out a common ground of action somewhere is becoming problematic, and this is one of the important challenges for the non-aligned movement for future. Once again, when we look at the 10 principles of Bandung, time and again NAM has reaffirmed the commitment towards it, namely respect of fundamental human rights, respect of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations, non-intervention into the internal affairs of another country. So what is essential, what we find out here is that how with NAM, if we are to look into advantages, the history accounts tells us that how it gave a platform, it gave an interface to Asian and African leaders who gathered together And yes, they might have had differing political and ideological view, or to say different approaches towards the societies they aspired to build or rebuild. But somewhere there was an agreement that the recently attained political independence was just a means to attain the goal of economic, social, cultural independence. Let's have a look at some of the NAM summits. The first summit from September 1961 at Belgrade, the second summit October 5 to 10, 1964, Cairo, the third summit September 8 to 10, 1970, Lusaka. To the recent ones, we'll take the 14th, 15th and 16th. The 14th in 2006 at Havana, 15th at 2009 at Sharm el-Sheikh, and 16th from 26th to 31st August 2012 at Tehran. The 17th NAM summit was held at Margarita Island, Venezuela in September 2016 with the theme Peace, Sovereignty and Solidarity for Development. The 18th NAM summit was held at Baku, Azerbaijan. The theme of the summit was Upholding Bandung Principles to ensure concerted and adequate response to the challenges of the contemporary world. As it is being argued that this theme also relates to the forthcoming 65th anniversary of the Bandung Principles 2020 and the 60th anniversary of the establishment of Non-Aligned Movement 2021. So, dear learners, what is essential to see here is that inspired by the principles and purposes which brought non-aligned movement by the Bandung Principles, and during the first NAM summit in Belgrade in 1961, the heads of states, governments of member countries of the non-aligned movement adopted in their 14th Havana summit the following purposes and principles of this movement in the very critical present international juncture. The purposes, if we read out once again from the NAM documents: to promote and reinforce multilateralism, to promote unity, solidarity, cooperation between developing countries based on shared values, priorities agreed upon by consensus, to defend international peace and security and settle all international disputes by peaceful means in accordance with the principle and the purposes of the UN Charter and international law. The principles, if we are to once again read out, and this is from the authentic Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India sources, that is, respect for the principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations and international law, respect for sovereignty, sovereign equality, territorial integrity of all states. Now, as we are looking at the issues of non-aligned movement in the global order, dear learners, an important point of debate or issue is that blocs and alliances which the world saw rising up from NATO to Warsaw Pact, are they less relevant in the post-Cold War time? This is an important point of argument. Similarly, is the world after the end of the Cold War, with the end of bipolarity, rise of multiple new power centers, is the world moving towards a loosely arranged order? Does the end of bipolar world mean that NAM is not relevant? Now, to answer to this very important perspective of where do we situate NAM in global order, we now look at an important statement, that is, we take from Non-Aligned Movement Summit, 25th October 2019, and this is from the statement by His Excellency Tijani Muhammad Bande, President of the 74th session of the United Nations General Assembly, 24th October 2019. So what you see here is that United Nations and NAM, they achieve They aim to achieve international peace and security. The United Nations emerged in 1945 from the destructive World War to save future generations from the scourge of war. NAM was formed in 1961 at the heights of the Cold War to achieve a world of peace, of justice, with respect and solidarity at the heart of cooperation and development. So the ideals emphasized by United Nations to guarantee peace are the same that NAM stands for, namely respect for fundamental rights, sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nation states, non-intervention in the internal affairs of countries, equality of all nations, peaceful resolution of all international conflicts. Now, a very important debate that how do we situate NAM in the global order? Does NAM has anything to offer for the realities, the challenges of the present global order? And for that, we get some excellent answers from the perspective presented by the Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in his recent address to the NAM countries. And we take this report from the government sources. In the speech to the non-aligned movements virtual meet, this was in the context of COVID-19 crisis. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji remarked that NAM is the world's moral voice. He called for international institutions that must be more representative of the world today. Prime Minister Modi ji also highlighted the need to promote human welfare and not just focus on economic growth alone. He called the NAM countries to stand together to ensure that international community, the World Health Organization focus on building health capacities in developing countries. And what the most important message that comes forward here is the ethos of India, one of the founders of NAM. India, from the remarks of Indian Prime Minister Modi ji, that India accounts for 1/6 of humanity and was a developing country and a free society. And during the COVID crisis also, India has shown to the world how democracy, discipline, decisiveness can come together to create a genuine people's movement. Indian civilization sees the entire world as one family. As we care for our own citizens, we are also extending help to other countries. So what we find here is that at a critical juncture, when the world is debating the merits of NAM, when the world is looking at what lies ahead for the future of NAM, the remarks by Indian PM Prime Minister Modi ji that NAM is the world's moral voice, the need to have international institutions more representative of the world today, and above all, the world order that must promote human welfare and not just focus on the economic growth alone, is an apt remark, a very useful observation, a very important remark, looking at the way how NAM, its purpose, objectives can be in tune with the changing global realities. So dear learners, this was the lecture on non-aligned movement and the global order, right from looking from the history, its establishment and the various new important points that have been addressed by world leaders at various NAM summits. We hope you all gain significant insights into the role of non-aligned movement for the global order. Thank you.